my phone. How exciting. Yeah, this is interesting. Let's do this. I don't even know if you can hear me. I don't know who is here. I don't know what's happening. All I know is that I tried to go live on the computer, which is right behind this, and the camera, oh my gosh, the camera is not working, and I have nothing set up for us to use my phone. There's no tripod, there's nothing, so I need to be extra careful with how I'm doing this tonight. Are we gonna cut it short again? And what does that mean? 2 nights in a row, like 2 episodes in a row, having to cut this short. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But oh my goodness, I'm terrified that this is gonna fall, so we're gonna lean it back a little bit. That's better. So if you're here, please let me know if you can hear me. Like I said, we are on the phone because my computer camera decided not to work literally right now as I was going live. I tried it earlier, as I always do, and it was fine. And yeah, thank you so much. You can hear me. Can you hear me well? I have to remember to be careful with this table now because my phone is not prepared for this episode. I don't have a tripod or anything. So let's get to it. Welcome, Peter. Good evening. Welcome to Moon Magic and Mindfulness with Grace. My name is Graciela Moore. Awesome. I am an ICF certified personal coach. I am a mom. I am a writer, poet, homemaker, blah, 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 right? Business owner, all the things. And it's very interesting juggling all of it. And I was chatting with Peter about this earlier, and I said that it's easy when you love what you do. And it's true when what you have on your plate are things that you have aligned with and that you have chosen, not just committed to, but really at a soul level chosen to attach yourself to, energetically speaking. When those things align, it just flows easier. So it's like, even if it's a lot, it might not be impossible, right? Oh, yes, yes. I'm excited to discuss about this today. I might move it a little bit so that we can dive into some of the details, because I don't know how clearly you can see it from there with this, but the sun is in Aries and opposite Aries is Libra. And so this is where the eclipse is happening. So the sun is illuminating a lot about me in this relationship, which is the Libra opposition to Aries, and the moon eclipsing through Libra is bringing up things like, well, the relationship, partnership, collaboration, the relatability of this interaction depends on what everybody brings to the table, because you can't have a harmony with just one person singing, right? So it's oppositional. It's, it's a lot of not negativity in that way, but there's a lot of back and forth, I feel like, when there's an eclipse, because a lot of feathers are ruffled in the process of the moon eclipsing or the sun eclipsing. And this is why eclipse season is like, if you look up in social media, and how a lot of astrologers catastrophize it and say things like, beware of eclipse season. And other people like myself see it as a bookmark, a bookend, a milestone, another opportunity to take note and to observe and compare and contrast. And this eclipse corresponds with 6 months ago. So for those of us following the journal, for those of us, for those of us, for those of us with a journaling practice, this is the beauty of following the moon and doing it in this way, because I get to look at last year's book and see, where was I 6 months ago? What were my notes? What's on my agenda during that eclipse 6 months ago? So on and so forth. And whatever is illuminated, right? Because the it's a moon, it's a full moon, so the sun is opposite, the sun is in Aries opposite Libra, so the sun is illuminating the moon, and that's why it's full, right? And the sun sheds light on emotions. This is what the full moon is all about. This is why full moons can be, I'm not saying it is for everyone, but this is why full moons can be so intense. It's because the light of your logic, the light of your reasoning, the light of your identity, the light of your wisdom is shown upon your emotional well-being or lack thereof, right? And so a lot is happening. Now, we have a solar eclipse in 2 weeks, right? With the new moon, we're going to have a solar eclipse, and it's in Aries. So we're still going to be talking about relationships, even though I literally just finished 25 ways that you could ponder, think about, journal, or talk about with someone on how to get ready for this eclipse that just happened today. And I feel like we're not done talking about relationships. Honestly, for as long as the North Node is in Aries and the South Node is in Libra, which is going to be until 2025, relationships of all kinds are going to be highlighted aside from the rest of the astrology, like Pluto in Aquarius and how that impacts technology. Well, how does technology impact your relationships or lack thereof? And who else is big? Saturn is in Pisces until I think, I don't know, May or probably next year. I can't think about it right now, but that's another major placement. And right now, Mars is in Pisces, which really highlights our intuition because Pisces, like I mentioned, all through the month of February, right? During Pisces season, Pisces is extremely divine and intuitive and swimming in the waters. Now let's talk about the moon because this is what we do here. That's pretty much a little bit of the overview of how this eclipse went, even though we're going to dive into the questions in the journal. But yeah, it peaked while we were all asleep at around 3, I don't know, between 3 and 5 Eastern Standard Time. And so for people in the Pacific Standard Coast, like Peter, then this was over midnight. You might have been awake or not. And it's interesting when you are awake during an eclipse. I like to compare those notes because some physical symptoms may occur. And this is also something that I find so fascinating about the astrology is when whatever is happening out there in the universe, like how does it ripple energetically so far and so much over here that I feel it in my body, and it just fascinates me. So some of the things that you may experience during an eclipse may be headaches, anxiousness, because it's a full moon and it's about release, you may experience, right, purging, crying. How many times have you gone potty, right? Pardon my mom language. How many times have you gone to relieve yourself, right? And release, let go. I love the full moon for detox. I try to do it every month around the full moon, and it's not, if I always miss it, if I miss it, I love the full moon in Cancer for gut health as well. I talk about this in my social media. So let's get to the week ahead. Yay! Oh my goodness. We are still very much in this, well, by now, Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're kind of already out of that energy, but really, really not really, if you think about it. As long as the moon is in Libra, and it's going to have a void, of course, between Libra and Scorpio, but as long as the moon is in Libra, we're in this full moon eclipse. All of that to say, pace yourself, brace yourself, hydrate, and rest. I don't know how heavy you felt today, but I felt winded, long-winded in doing things that would not make me long-winded otherwise. So that's interesting because Libra is an air sign. And I'll give you an example. My son, who never naps anymore, he is off napping. He does not take naps anymore. He was napping at noon. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, are you okay? Are you sick? Do you need anything? And he doesn't answer any of those, but it was interesting to see, right? And I always compare the notes. So it's full moon, this is happening, and look at him asleep at noon. Now, that was a very short nap. It only lasted 20 minutes, but still, he never naps, and he napped today. So, what are some of the symptoms that you may be experiencing? I like to think about those things. So, now you have that in your periphery. Now, we start the week with this moon in Libra, and the affirmation for us in the book with Betsy. What do you mean? Are you asking me if I am with Betsy? Because Betsy's over there and she seems to not be so happy in her little bed. But anyway, the affirmation for us today on the book, Moon Magic and Mindfulness with Grace 2024 Manifestation Agenda / Journal, available in the link in the bio, is I trust, which is a major theme so far this year. And I say it like this because I've heard about trust from pretty much Jessica Laniato, one of the astrologers I love and respect and follow the most. And Chani has also brought it up in the Chani Nicholas app. And I've seen some astrologers on TikTok also just talk about trust. Now, here's the thing. Trust is huge forever and always, right? And it's also one of those concepts that we don't really comprehend, I feel like, because if we have undergone trauma, consistent, severe, or just trauma in general, trust can be blurred. The concept of trust can be misinterpreted. Maybe you have been in a season or in an era of your life where you don't know who to trust, right? And I feel like it really starts or stems from self-trust. If I don't trust myself, how can I trust you? And then I remember, I've mentioned my upbringing here before, but just for the benefit of anyone who's watching that may be new to the channel, which I'm so grateful that you're here, welcome. I grew up in Puerto Rico. First language is Spanish, and I got pretty much obsessed with the English language very early on. I'm talking 5 or 6 years old. And so I took it upon myself to pay attention and to learn it, right? By the time I graduated, I went straight into an English department, literature major, right? And so I remember the first time, I don't remember how old I was, but I do remember the first time I heard in a movie I was watching, the girl telling the guy, I have no idea what movie this is, I can't trust myself when I'm with you. And that line stayed with me because I wondered for so many years, what did she mean? We don't use the word trust, talking about trusting ourselves enough in our conversations. You know, I feel like in our conversations, especially in our friendships and relationships, we tend to bring up trust when we are suspicious. Do you trust that guy? If you have to ask, then you're already suspicious, right? I'm just not sure that I can trust this person. There's that intuition, right? If you have to put it in those words that you're not sure if you can trust this person, then maybe you shouldn't, right? And so trust is the theme so far this year. And I wonder how that resonates with you. Let me know in the comments. But here's in the affirmation that I wrote last year for today. I trust in the cosmic dance. That's pretty much Libra, of balance and transformation. I mean, think of transformation as that fire that never dwindles. It just moves, it flickers, it sparks. It's not static, right? A flame moves. That's just the way fire is. It spreads, it grows, it elevates, right? All of these things. It changes color, which is one of my favorite things about a fire pit, is when you can see in the very depth center of that fire how it is so hot that it's blue. It's not red or orange, it's blue. So I trust in the cosmic dance of balance and transformation, nurturing both my independence, there's that North Node in Aries, and my connections with others, there's that Libra on the other side of it, opposite of it, and how we are in the center of it, straddling that balance. It's like it's nonstop. We ebb and we flow, but we don't just ebb and flow as in, oh, today I flowed all day, and maybe tomorrow you ebb all day. No, it's like we ebb and flow in different ways all day, every day. It never stops. We are this plushy thing with like a fluffy, we're this moldable, right, entity that can just mold its way, and we are more adaptable than we give ourselves credit to as well. So how are you straddling that line in between what I want and what's good for the collective, what I bring to the table and what other people bring to the table, and how we also strive for a balance in that, right? Because of equity, and how what I want is also beneficial for the group. And if it's not, then what does that say about me? Or what am I going to do about it? Or what am I going to choose? This is all the things that come up when eclipse season rolls around. And I feel like the most important question in a lot of people's minds, and I say this just because Pluto entering Aquarius is a collective transit, much like a full moon, right? And so, what I mean by that is there's our personal transits on our birth chart and how the current transits affect us because of our birth chart. And that's a whole nother conversation that we're not going to get into here. But there's also these outer planet transits that impact a whole generation because they take so long to transit. And Pluto in Aquarius is one of these because Pluto will be in Aquarius for the next 25 years. So mark my words now. If we didn't get, which we did get flying cars. They're just not, massively produced, but I'm pretty sure someone did already invent a car that can elevate and kind of, um, graze through the air, or in the air, I should say. But it's not massively produced. Like, I can't just walk into a car dealership today and say, I want a flying car. I want your latest. This is the one, right? But Pluto in Aquarius is that kind of vibe. Like, oh, you want flying cars? Here's all of the technology available for this to be, right, available to all. And because Aquarius is concerned with the collective, not just the technology, I feel like a lot of the technology that will be developed in the next few years, specifically in the beginning of this 25-year transit, is hopefully for the good of all and to kind of change some of the things that have happened and put a stop to some of the things that could happen, collectively speaking, later on. Those are all hopes of mine, right? All of that to say, Pluto in Aquarius already, and it's going to go retrograde soon. And we have a Mercury retrograde starting April 1st. So we're going to talk about that next week, because that's April 1st. We're going to be here on Moon Day. Pluto in Aquarius with this solar eclipse. So think technology, think apps, think how you spend your time online, think the connections and relationships that you have because of these technologies, right? And then think of, again, all of these relationships and what the full moon is illuminating for you in terms of these relationships. And that may be frustration, stoicism, I'm over it, I'm bored, or I love this, I can't let go of it, I can't get enough of it, I love these people, or I hate these people, I keep comparing myself, I can't stand this is such a waste of time, I should do better with my time, so on and so forth. I feel like a lot of us are experiencing conflicting thoughts about some of this technology that is so readily available and our relationship to this technology, what we have given and what has been reciprocated from these groups or apps, what we are creating and how that is being received. We have a relationship with our content, but we also have a relationship with how we are perceived. And so all of this is coming up. And it's a lot. I've been thinking about all of this all weekend because it is a lot. And I'm glad that I shared this reminder earlier, which is we don't need to make sense of it right now. We can take our time, especially because a lot more will make sense on that April 8th solar eclipse. A lot of it will make sense because this little bookend right here opens that portal, opens that door. Now, I say portal and I say door. A lot of astrologers believe that this little 2 week gap between eclipses is a liminal space because it's between eclipses. And there's a lot of magic in liminal spaces in terms of room for growth, room for improvement, room for backing away, room for rethinking, room for really ruminating and deciding. And so that's very powerful, and hence the magic, right? At least in my world, at least how I see it and how I practice it, right? And so, woo, whoa, that was a lot. By Wednesday, I'm hoping that whatever was illuminated with this eclipse, we will start processing in the sense of through our body, feeling it through our body, because Scorpio is very concerned with getting to the bottom of things. And it's also a water sign. So if you didn't get to release in terms of emotions, maybe crying, screaming, or I don't know how you throw your fits, right? That's up to you. Journaling. If you didn't get to release during this full moon, I'm pretty confident that a moon in Scorpio will do the trick if you think about it that way, because it is a water sign and you can actively tap into that and say, this is my moment. I really want to make sense of this. And if I have to let it go, I want the strength to let it go, so on and so forth. And you get 2 days of that energy that you can tap into by Friday. Once we have processed, released, and decided, little old moon in Sagittarius comes along to direct us in the direction that we decide to go. Because remember, Sagittarius, where is it? Is the one with the archer, right? Sagittarius is the archer, opposite Gemini. Yeah, right here, opposite Gemini. So, and it's mutable fire. So I'm hoping that there's room for dipping our toes, and maybe by Sunday we've decided a little bit more. But in the end, don't worry if you don't decide or change anything or commit to anything or whatever by the end of this Sagittarius moon on Sunday, because again, we're in between eclipses, and it's a time to wait. It's a time to open and receive. And this is why it's important to do the work leading up to these eclipses, because so much can be brought up. And the question of what you receive or how you receive it, or the question of how overwhelming it can get energetically speaking or mentally speaking, versus flowing right through and having a season be easy breezy for you, even though others are struggling. The difference between this lies in your practice and in what you do leading up to these moments, these little bookends that we get in our life. Now, the Gregorian calendar likes to have these little bookends that are very much commercialized and very much kind of imprinted in our history, but they weren't there from the beginning. They weren't, astrology is an ancient practice. Can we really say that these Hallmark holidays are ancient? No, because they're not. And so if you're already used to having these milestones, like, oh, I mean, Christmas is awesome, and then it's like a waiting period in between Christmas and New Year, doesn't that seem familiar? And then by New Year's, we have everything figured out and we're ready for what's next. And we have all of this energy that is kind of imposed on us because we really don't feel it. We've already compared notes on that. And so if you're already used to taking your calendar and using the milestones as added milestones to your life and your goals and your personal growth, then why not shift into using the eclipses as that personal marker for your growth? And the fact that you can compare notes to last 6 months and what happened then. And of course, you can also compare notes to the last time that the lunar eclipse in Libra happened with the sun in Aries, which was probably decades ago. And you can compare notes to that as well. It's just so fascinating. It's so fascinating. And it's cyclical because it's a circle, just like Earth, right? And the whole universe is this mathematical shape where everything just flows. So that's the week. What do you think about that? How do you like them apples? And what's coming up for you during this eclipse? I will say this with my whole heart and respectfully, and I hope he doesn't mind. I mean, but for my husband, it's been gratitude. He's been processing his relationship with gratitude. He has been processing, and when I say processing, I mean conversations about it, right? This is how some of us process our thoughts and emotions. We talk about it. And so he's been processing gratitude that he may not have expressed from years ago. And please keep it coming, right? We want to sit in this gratitude. We want to see what it feels like in our bodies. We want to really make sure that we express it to the best of our ability, so on and so forth. And so this whole relationship theme with the Libra eclipse and then the Aries eclipse in 2 weeks, it's all relationships. It's not just people and friends and interpersonal relationships. It's our relationship to everything. How do you relate to your reflection in the mirror? How do you relate to the clothes in your closet? Are you one of those people who walks to your closet every single day and not necessarily says, I have nothing to wear, hashtag first world problems, but do you walk to your closet and say, oh my gosh, I hate everything here? Because I feel like that's a huge red flag. If you walk to your closet and you automatically feel in your body like you hate everything in it, then you probably bought all of those things for someone else. And asking yourself, how do I relate to this chapter of my life, what I wear every day, can open the door to a lot of insight. Excuse me, please stop. I'm sorry about that. My dog is trying to bark and take care of us. So let's look at the full moon and the lunar eclipse questions. We're looking at the book Moon Magic and Mindfulness with Grace 2024 Manifestation Agenda / Journal. And some of these, there's 2 questions and affirmations. And oh my goodness, after everything that I've been discussing with my husband so far, it was so great to look at these questions. My sister says, I never thought about it that way, but there you go. How do you feel? How do you relate to the pressures that you feel in your life, and where is the pressure coming from? How do you relate to your habits? How do you relate to that people that are in your life? It's a huge, I should say deep rabbit hole that we can't venture into in an episode, but there's a lot to unpack, and it will all make sense in due time, and it will all be revealed in due time. And so we're going to keep talking about it, right? So question number 1, reflect on areas in your life where you've been overemphasizing your independence. Have you been a little bit selfish here and there at the expense of connection? And I use the word selfish because if you're choosing something at the expense of something else, then there's a sacrifice that's happening. There's There's a power dynamic that is not equal. There's a disadvantage, right? Whatever is the expense is lost, right? How can you achieve a healthier balance in these areas? And I forgot the question mark there, but how can you achieve a healthier balance in these areas? And sometimes we have no idea how to achieve balance. Balance, evades me. It is elusive. We think we get it and we don't, right? If I'm here, I'm not a mother. So how do I balance that, right? Lots of ways to look at it. But you don't need to have the answer right now. You can just wait, especially during eclipse season, because the answer to these questions may come up when the moon goes into Scorpio or when the moon goes into Sagittarius this week. Just give yourself the time. There is no rule in my book that says that you need to journal all of these questions on the same day. I don't do that, so why do you? You can answer the first question and go live your life and then come back to it and see what changed or see what else came up. Question number 2, what emotions or realizations have been building inside you, especially in the context of your relationships or partnerships? How can you embrace these emotions and insights, and what actions might they lead to in the coming months? That's a loaded question. What actions might they lead to? I mean, we don't know, but we can definitely change that into what actions do I hope to see? Not just from me, but from other people. Go ahead and write it down. You're going to hear a lot of astrologers tell you not to do manifestations during the eclipse season. That's really up to you. You do you. I don't want to tell you what to do. All I know is that it feels good to write about my hopes and dreams. Maybe I call it that. Maybe you call it a manifestation, but because I call it something else, it automatically, magically becomes something else. So that's also room for thought. Affirmations. And then we're going to go into our meditation. I allow my emotions and revelations to come forth. I trust. There's that little theme again. I trust that they, my emotions and revelations, hold the key to positive resolutions and meaningful growth in my relationships. I am open to the necessary changes that bring balance and fulfillment. And being open to change is huge. How long have you been looking at this little app icon on your phone thinking, I really should just delete that app because I don't use it? But it's still there. Or even deeper, how long have you been actively using an app while actively being frustrated with it? Like, do you know how much negative energy goes into going into an app every day that you just don't like anymore? That you're just not happy with anymore? That brings nothing to your table, or that it's just getting on your nerves? Well, then just delete it. Or change how you interact with it. Like, actively implement a change, even if it's tiny. The tiny step today becomes a habit later on, right? Just like one grain of sand is like, well, nothing, but it makes a whole beach when they all get together, right? Oh, my goodness. I feel like there's just so much to say, right? And by next week, we have April. Oh my goodness. Starting on April 1st with Mercury retrograde. We're going to talk all about it. There's nothing to be afraid of. Mercury retrograde is the season for you to review. Retrograde. Go back. Review what needs reviewing. So whatever comes up during a Mercury retrograde, it's coming up because you haven't learned the lesson, because it came up once and you ignored it. So now it's going to come up again. So ponder that as well. We're going to talk about it next week. And let's do our meditation, shall we? Sit comfortably. We're going to set this up right here. If you're available to let me know whether you can hear this or not, let me know. But here we have a nice little flow. Let's go ahead and lower this sound. And if you're able, just settle down. Thank you, Peter. Sit back and relax, or lay back and relax. Focus on your nice, soft, normal breathing. And follow my lead. Nice, deep, long breath through your nose. Oh my gosh, why do I keep saying that? Nose. I was practicing that sound with my son. Deep breath, hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale through your mouth. Nice and long exhale. Hold it at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe in again through your nose. Nice and long, deep breath, nice and slow. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, nice and slow. And as you exhale and relax into that exhale, imagine yourself under the biggest, brightest full moon there ever was. Everything around you is illuminated. You can see so clearly. And as you sit still under this bright moon, on the ground, just below the surface, tiny but millions of wiggly worms are making their way through the soil, working hard, preparing nature, and seeking for everything they need to thrive into the most abundant, beautiful spring. And with each little movement, they make their way, they open their way. So it doesn't matter how small your efforts. Are you putting in some effort? With me, take another deep breath in through your nose. Deep breath, hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale. Nice and long exhale, slow. Hold it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and inhale with me once again. Through your nose, hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and relax. And exhale. And as you relax into this exhale, ponder these affirmations. Feel them in your heart and hold them so close. I trust in the cosmic balance. I trust in the cosmic dance of balance and transformation, nurturing both my independence and my connection with others. I allow my emotions and revelations to come forth, and I trust that they hold the key to positive resolutions and meaningful growth in my relationships. I am open to the necessary changes that bring balance and fulfillment. And as you sit nice and comfortable under this big, bright, lit full moon, remember, I am loved, I am secure, I am grounded, I am protected, I am safe. With me, take one last deep breath in, nice and slow through your nose. Deep, deep, deep breath in until you have no room for air. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale through your mouth. Long exhale. And as you relax, wiggle your toes, move your body, and open your eyes, and come back to me. And that, my friends, concludes our time together. What an amazing week awaits us. I'm so excited to share all the notes and to compare all the notes. And as we get ready for that solar eclipse on April 5th, I will be discussing 14 things to do to get ready for it. Thank you so much, Peter and Nani, for joining me, and I will see you all next week. And thank you for adjusting to our technology, which did not work for us today. I'm so grateful that the iPhone did work, even though the camera on the computer was wah, wah, wah. But thank you for your patience and kindness as always. I love you all so much, and I will see you next Monday. Bye.